This is the Beat People podcast, the debut Beat People podcast. I am Corry Banks, BBoyTech. Some of you all might know BBoyTech Report. This is the debut of this Beat People podcast, and it's the also kind of to launch the beatppp.com, which is my new storefront with sound packs and t-shirts and kind of like a lifestyle for beat makers. So that's what's up, and this is a couple of my homeboys that's here to join me. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. Let me start with Bryce. Bryce.
What's up, everybody? My name is Bryce. I go by Upright. Happy to be a part of the whole Beat People scene, and good to be on here today with you guys.
Word. Cool. I'm glad to have you, Bryce, aka Upright. Hey, by the way, how'd you get the name Upright? I just want to kind of get that. Well, who you are and how'd you get your name?
That's the interesting thing because I think I was in the ninth grade. No, not the ninth grade. I was about 9 years old, and we were going on a field trip, and everybody had like a nickname on the back of their shirt that they were having. They were making these shirts. I was about 9 years old. They were making these shirts, and everybody had a nickname that they were putting on the back of their shirt. And so I didn't know what to put. So I went to my mom and I asked her. I said, what can I put on the back of my shirt? And her first reaction, being a godly woman, she went to the Bible and she found that name Upright and threw it on the back of my shirt. So I just kind of stuck with it. So
that's dope. And you all kind of, as me and Joe would say, you got that Superman thing going on. So that fits. Godly man and Superman, all of the Upright.
There we go.
Words. So next up, let's introduce yourself. Tell us how you got your name, Flux.
So I'm Flux, sound designer for fluxwithit.com, themachinewarehouse.com, and we just opened a new store called sonicexpansion.com. And I got a whole bunch of new products that are going to be coming out basically this month and next month over at Sonic Expansion. So it's going to be encompassing lots of different things: Ableton Live, Reason, MPC, Machine, all kinds of different stuff. My name basically came at the time. This is way back in the good old days. I did a lot of hip-hop records, and I was battle rapping and producing and, doing that kind of scene. And people used to say that my style would change up so much, so drastic from beat to beat, because I like to do kind of a little bit of everything. So so I said, I fluctuate with the style, so that's kind of where it all came from. And it kind of stuck because I've always been real deep into, like, space and time travel, and so it kind of has a lot of different meanings for me, but yeah, that's basically where it came from.
Cool, man. That's dope to know. See, I never knew this stuff. I've known you guys for years now. I never knew this stuff, so that's good to know. Welcome to the show, man. And last but not least, my man MSimp. Introduce yourself and tell us how you got your name.
Well, my name is my name. It's just short. So I'm Simp. Product sound designer for MSX Audio. So that's pretty much who I am and what I do day in, day out.
Word up. Hey, and by the way, you're looking good on the setups in the backgrounds there, fellas. Since this is all about gear and sound packs. First, I want to say, thanks for joining, and let's get right down into the gear and this NAMM situation. So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is like the early joint, and I'm gonna go over to Bryce because he's the only one of all of us that actually has it in his possession. Mine won't be here until Monday. What? So Bryce, what you holding over there? Spill the beans.
Man, the Minilogue, man, it's tight. It's real nice. I like it.
Hold it up, man.
Let me see if I can get to it back here.
Let's rip that thing up and let's
back
do it.
There, over in the corner, you guys can. I don't know if you can see it back there.
Nice and slim, yeah.
Oh.
So But yeah, so it's tight, man. I like it. Man, let me see if I can get this.
You just got it yesterday, obviously, though, right?
Yeah, just got it yesterday. Yeah, man, it's blowing my mind. It's just the sonic palette is so various. I mean, it covers low end, leads, pads, everything. It does it all good, man.
And you said it does have a high pass filter on it, right?
It does. It's connected to the delay. There's a delay. The delay and the high pass, yeah, they're one and the same. Yep.
Oh, okay. So when you do that way you can kind of tailor the feedback on it, I guess.
Right. You can high pass the feedback, or you can bypass it, or you can have it high pass both the feedback and the source. So, and then if you turn the feedback to 0, it's just a plain high pass filter.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. So it's real nice, man. I'm blown away. Now,
how are you? So that one, they're saying that one's basically an all new oscillator and filter design. Are you? So you have the analog 4 there, which is also a 4 voice. But obviously the price point is over double. You know what the Minilogue is. So.
Right.
How would you compare the sound of the two? Like just the overall sound? Because obviously the A4 is going to have a lot more modulation and whatnot. But how would you compare the sound of the two?
I kind of look at it like this: for $500, it's amazing. It's amazing. So to compare it to the A4, I would say the A4 is like you said, more modulation. It's also a little bit more menu diving. So the Minilogue is really hands-on. Like everything you want to do and anything, any idea that comes to your head, it's right there on the panel. So you can really experiment a lot easier. Whereas like on the A4, there's stuff that's hidden, and you may not think, okay, let me adjust this, for example, this envelope or whatever. Let me see how this affects the sound. But on the Minilogue, since everything's right there on the panel, it tends to make you want to experiment and kind of look, try this and try that. So since everything's
one of the obvious differences I can think of with the A4 and the Minilogue is first the A4 it's 4 analog voices, but you can have a separate voice per channel. Right?
Good point. Yeah,
so
definitely.
This is a polysynth where it is the channel it is, and it plays the voices and depend on unison mode, whatever it is. But you can't have voice per channel.
Exactly. So it is it is a lot more limited in that sense. So if but at the same time, I mean, it's analog and it's a beast. It's a straight up beast.
Have you noticed any sound quality drawbacks or anything? So, and I'm going to preface that just a little bit by saying, so at the price point, there's been a lot of people who are wondering whether or not they're using clean op amps and things like that in there. So we know that like when the MS-20 Mini came out, it had a lot of noise in the signal because of that. Yeah. Now the ARP Oddity, when they redid the Odyssey, I don't think people were really having that issue. So I don't really suspect it's an issue. But have you, sound quality wise,
man, sound quality, yeah, it's the signal level is really rich. It like I said, I mean, no complaints at all. No complaints. It sounds amazing, and I think a lot of people are going to jump in and be really pleasantly surprised. I really do. I mean, it has totally exceeded my expectations. Totally.
So
and it runs.
Go ahead, Flux.
I was just going to say, and we talked earlier off air, and it runs off a 9-volt power source, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay, so that means like you could run it with some type of battery.
There's a few different reasons why I find that interesting, but one of the main things is a lot of the companies, like for instance Arturia, when they did the Brutes and stuff, you're seeing 12-volt power sources, which means it kind of directly translates to them building Eurorack stuff, But the fact that it's 9-volt, like, it just kind of lends more credence in my idea to the fact that it's designed from scratch for what it is. You know what I mean?
Right, definitely.
It's its own thing,
Definitely.
Yeah, that's
so price point wise, I guess when you're comparing that to the A4, because personally I'm not a fan of the before. I'm not really a fan of any of the electron stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has a
blasphemous.
Hold on. And here's the thing. I think it's because of what Bryce just mentioned, like the menu diving and the scrolling.
That's why I sold my rhythm. Yeah, I had
the
electron rhythm, and I got rid of it just because it sounded phenomenal, but I was just not a fan of the menu diving. And
you lose creativity diving and tweaking knobs and looking through menus. Whereas, based on what I can see from the Minilogue, like it's ready to go. Like as soon as you pick it up, put it down, you start diving, you dial in a patch, like you're ready to rock and roll, man. And for me, that's what I like. I need something that's gonna strike me instantly so that I can get going, rather than sitting dialing buttons, turning knobs. 15, 20 minutes go by and you finally get that sound right, but then your idea's gone.
Right. Well, see, I think that's the key with something like this. It's so immediate, and then that takes away any of the problems you may have with the creativity. You jump on, you dial in the sounds you want, you start playing, and then while you're dialing, you're finding other sounds, and it kind of adds to the creativity. You know what I mean?
I'll say this. When I was I had the just off shot here. I'll see if I can show it real quick. So just off shot, I got the Tempest right over here, right? And
you got everything right over there.
The Guitar Center right over there.
So my thing is though, I was messing with the Tempest and the Rhythm at the same time, and I really enjoyed both of them, right? Sonically, they're polar opposites in my opinion, but and normally when that happens, I'll keep both pieces of gear, right? But both pieces of gear are fairly expensive, and I'm not made out of money. So I worked with the Rhythm for a little while. I sampled some stuff from it and kind of ran it through some other gear and sampled some things. But in the end, I ended up deciding that it just wasn't for me right now. Like, I may get it later just because I did really like the sound, but what I found was that the user experience of actually using, I really didn't like that screen. I really didn't like the actual layout of trying to sound design on it. Whereas on the Tempest, it's the exact opposite. The screen is really nice, and the massive amount of knobs on there. I feel like it has just the right amount of knobs. I don't feel like there's any knob on the Tempest that is missing. You know what I mean? They did just the right number.
Let me show, because some people out there may not, I don't know if there's probably gear people out there watching, obviously, but I just want to show the rhythm so people can kind of see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you look at that screen, that screen it's really not that much of a different size screen than this screen over here. Let me zoom this bad boy in.
Well, that screen looks like it's a little bigger, though.
It's a little bit bigger, but it's the type of screen that it is much clearer. It's much more
right. Well, it's an OLED screen, right? Is that what it is? It's an OLED screen.
Higher contrast. It's just in general, it's just much more viewable and immediate, right? And then on top of that, you have knobs per section on it, right? So
right.
With the
that
rhythm,
makes the big difference.
The rhythm, it's it's the same 4 knobs, or however, what is it, 8 knobs?
8 knobs, yeah.
Yes, 8 knobs.
Yeah, it's the same 8 knobs each time. Whereas on the Tempest, it's if I'm using the amplifier section, it's the same knobs for the amplifier section. Right. If I'm using the LFO section, same knobs for that. If I'm using the oscillator section, same knobs for that. You know what I mean? It's separate. So for me,
so this is what it is, right? So what you have is these 4.
Yeah.
Right, you have these couple buttons right here. That'll tell if you want the LFO, you want the the oscillator, you want whichever. And then once you choose that, then you have to deal with these knobs here to get the setting you hear. So there is quite a bit of menu diving for those out there that don't know. That's the.
But what I'll say is and this is sound designer crap. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, the average user who's actually making a beat on it, I don't think is that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But for the sound designers, because the Electron workflow is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. In my opinion, it's not bad. It's just not sound designer friendly as something like the DSI interface is.
Well, it's not bad. Well, I'll tell you, it's not bad, but there is a steep learning curve. So that's one of the things that it may also hinder your creativity. While they make incredible gear, it could really hinder your creativity if you're not prepared to deal with that steep learning curve.
Right, and that's kind of what it is. That menu diving, so you're less likely to really experiment in that kind of an environment, with so many options, and that's where the Minilogue totally takes that away. Everything being right there, you're experimenting, you're trying different things, and it's real gratifying because everything's right there. So
you feel like it's an entry-level synth, I guess, in that regard?
I wouldn't say entry level. It's weird because it covers so much ground. It really does a lot because you have the oscillators. What exactly is it called? It's called well, it has sync and I forget, but the oscillators modulate each other. So you have ring mod, you have a couple different ways that the oscillators can modulate each other, and so I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different options you have there, but still it keeps it simple. So I wouldn't say it's a beginner. I would say somebody just starting will feel comfortable, but as well as somebody that wants to, really kind of experiment, they'll feel comfortable as well. So.
Yeah. Well, that's dope. I mean, I think that's going to be one of those synths that sells a whole lot because it's the right price point. It's the right set of features, even for anything that it might lack. I mean, for the amount of money, $499, as opposed to, like, say, a P6. It's not exactly. It doesn't. I mean, P6, the Prophet 6 sounds incredible, but it doesn't have like all of the modulation stuff that maybe a Prophet 8 has. So when you start thinking about what polysynths are on the market and what you get for the amount of money, I mean, this thing also has a couple new things, right? It has the ducking feature, which I think is dope. Never heard of that on a synth. It has a dope delay on it. A few things. So I think in all those different modes, which makes a big difference. So I think it's one of those things where, like the micro Korg was, right? When that first came out, there wasn't a whole lot of analog on the market besides the Andromeda, and that wasn't analog; it was a VA. But it sold incredibly. Large amounts of those things were just sold all over the place because it was the right price and it was the right sound. It had just the right features for that day and time, and I think this is going to be that thing. The most pro user can get down with it, and it's probably an incredible piece for people to kind of learn synthesis hands-on.
Definitely.
Yeah. I love the fact that it has an oscilloscope built in. Like, I know it's a small, I believe it's the same display from the King Korg, which I don't know if maybe they bought like a huge warehouse of those displays and just wanted to use them. I don't know, but I love that. I mean, you could see in my setup, like I got an analog scope back here, and I've got a bunch of software scopes that I use as well. I love using an oscilloscope when I'm sound designing and when I'm working on things, and I think it really helps teach synthesis as well. So when you have somebody maybe who's new to synthesizing sounds and they're working on like an analog keybed, because this is going to be the first synth for a lot of people, I'm sure. Yeah. And when you can actually see what the oscillators are doing and you can see how your filters are shaping and all, I think that's a very powerful tool. And it also looks pretty. Like, I like flashing lights as much as the next guy. Like, I'm as shallow as the next person, honestly. Like, I love it.
Speaking of that, that's the thing. That thing looks good, not just the screen, but the face of it. And then on the back, it's got that dope wood. It's real wood. I mean,
it's precious. Let me see if I can pull up a nice screenshot of what it looks like. So for anybody who hasn't seen it,
real quick, while you doing that,
just go pick it up real quick.
Yeah,
we got screens, so we got the real deal over here, Flux. Bryce can just unplug it.
Yeah, Bryce is rude though. He doesn't want to be nice.
But
he's really not going to do it.
He doesn't want to disconnect it from his setup. I guarantee you that's what it is.
Let me grab it.
Peer pressure. Peer pressure. Pick that thing up.
He's like, no, Korg sent it to me, not for y'all.
Right. That's right.
Now, Corey, if
Just
you,
for
if you
me.
select my image here, then the people should be able to see this. But that looks good to me, man. Like, I don't care. Like, I know some people were complaining about a triangle shape. To me, I love that angle, man. Like, I love the fact that it has a slight slope to it, because I don't like my favorite synth in here is probably my Sub Fatty, because the angle is so perfect to work on. Whereas when I'm using, I mean, even the Prophet 12 has a slight angle to it, but when I'm using something like a Mini Brute or Micro Brute, whatever, any of my other synths that don't have angles on them, like, I find myself hunching over it more. And I'll be honest with you, if you're spending a lot of time in the studio, there's a reason why we're all out here, you know, we're all out here for some reason, like getting like IKEA laptop stands and all these different things to angle every bit of gear that we have. I mean, like these quick lock stands, you can angle everything. Like, everything in our studio is angled for a reason, and that's because you can't have everything within elbow's reach. You got to reach for everything, and which means you can't be over top of everything. If you are, it's terrible studio ergonomics, and your back starts hurting. You know, like, I mean,
That's true.
You can't tell me that you gotta have
That's true. If you spend a lot of time in the studio, yeah, you got to have the right ergonomics, and which is why I think so many of our setups change so much. As many times as we all talk, what I always know is that we're rearranging something, we're putting something some kind of way, because the ergonomics in the studio matters when you're spending a whole day, half a day, or if you're like most of us who work during the day and come home and then end up working on our passion stuff, this stuff, and sound design and all that, you got to have the right ergonomics, so this is going to be a problem. I'm going to flip over here to Bryce so Bryce can hold that thing up right there.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about it, man, is the first thing I noticed is it's fairly light. You know, it's pretty light. I was expecting it to be a little heavier, so that was one thing that kind of got me. But it's not too big. The mini keys aren't bad. I mean,
it's fresh though, man.
Yeah, it's real nice. I'm telling you, Michael, you'll dig it, man. And that parameter I was talking about is cross mod. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So it has cross mod. Let me see if I can get this in here right. There's the cross mod right there, wherever it is. Anyway, right there. But yeah, so it has a lot of variety, man. A lot of different modulation options, and so it's pretty deep. It goes deep.
How's the filter on it?
Filter's real nice. So you have 4-pole and 2-pole, and and they both sound great.
Now, I know you're not like Willie and I, but you don't have like 150 filters in your setup. But if you had to say, like, it reminds you of another filter, can you maybe describe that?
It's really mellow until you get the resonance up kind of high. So I would say it's a real gentle filter, but it does start to get that growl and a little bit of bite to it as you bring the resonance up higher. The 4-pole aspect of it is just like you would expect. It cuts off the high frequencies more, and the 2-pole is more gentle. So it's nice. It's really
have
nice.
you tried the ducking feature? Because I'm kind of enamored by the ducking feature, because I've never heard of anything like that on a keyboard. Although ducking, there's nothing new about ducking, but to have that on a keyboard where you can hold down a key or play, a couple notes here, then tickle the keys up here, and
right.
Yeah, that's fresh.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I am interested, in that as well. That was one of the things that kind of sparked my interest as well. But the poly mode is great. The mono mode's nice, and the mono mode is dope because when you turn up the voice depth, I don't know if you guys have seen the voice depth knob. There's that voice depth knob right there. Let me see if you can see that. Right there.
Yeah. So is that like a volume? Is that like an amplitude volume type thing, or?
The voice depth, whichever mode you're in, whether it's poly mode or mono mode, that voice depth does something different to each mode. So, in the case of mono, when you turn that up, it adds sub oscillators. So the more you turn it up, you turn it up a little bit, you get one sub oscillator. You turn it up more, you get one that's 2 octaves down. So every time you turn it up, it adds another sub oscillator.
Yeah, so, that's super fresh.
Yeah.
Hey, so you think we can get a filter shootout maybe on somebody's SoundCloud or something? Hint, hint.
Well, I'm not going to have mine until I get back from NAMM, or at least not have time to play with it.
No, I'm talking to Bryce. Bryce on
right now. Yeah. Man, I can do that. Yeah, definitely.
So, I would like to hear it against, the A4's filter.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Dope idea. Yep.
Yeah, what else you got in the back over there?
I got the Pro 2, I got the A4, and then this. So.
Yeah, because
you have some other filters in your Euro rack too.
The Euro rack, yeah, I do have. I have a Korgasmatron, which is basically like an MS-20 filter. That's basically
see, I think that would be dope. Yeah, I think that would be dope.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, as far as NAMM is concerned, I was saying this a while back. Basically, this year, I'm kind of expecting to see more drum machines. And I should say actually more standalone samplers, sampler drum machines, right?
Really? Are you expecting standalone samplers? I mean, I know there was some rumor about Roland. There's been a rumor about Roland with the MVs for the last 9,200 years.
Oh yeah, right? For sure. Every year, I remember I remember the first year that I met Corry in person. Corey came up to me, and at the time, I didn't I'll be the first person to tell you, I'm not Jason Bourne. When I see people face to face, it takes me 30 minutes to figure out who anybody is. I walked past my homie at the airport picking me up, who was holding a Flux sign. Okay, so. But I remember when we first got there. That was the first place that we beeline to was Roland, and all they had was organs, and we were all just oh, come on, man! And every year it's the same thing. Every year it's
the Roland booth. Listen, I want them to be able to send me stuff, but let's be straight up. I hate their booth because all it is organs and a bunch of stuff.
They did one really cool thing that year, and they had this guy by the name of Rico Loop. So I highly recommend everybody check him out. Rico Loop was there because they were showing off. They had the new looper pedal, and that kid was just killing it, man. He was doing all kinds of weird stuff, just playing all kinds of instruments and looping it with the pedal, and that was cool. And then he got thrown off.
That's a show, though. You got to catch that guy, because otherwise, you may not enjoy that booth too much.
Well, he got thrown off of the tour bus with us too because he was trying to smoke weed on the tour bus.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, that was so funny. But but not every year. Roland, this rumor comes around every year. Every year we get excited. Every year we get disappointed. But I do feel like this year is the year. I don't even know if it's going to be an MV. A large part of me thinks that it's not an MV and that it's a totally new product.
So does anybody remember? And I'm drawing a blank, but there was some leak not long ago about some Roland product and how they were going to do some sort of emulation or some new sampler that's going to change the game this year. Yeah. Supposed to have all these different emulations like SP12 and NVIDIA.
It was over at that site with the name that shall not be spoken.
Right. But the guy that leaked it, he said he was the same guy that brought out the information about D'Angelo's album a while before it came out. He was the guy that leaked that information.
Legit, huh?
Yeah, that's what he's trying to say.
Something else as well, too.
And there was something else as well he said he told everybody about. And then from that, he went to breaking down everything that this new Roland sampler is supposed to have. So it's basically it's 10 classic samplers or something like that, right, Ken? Something like that?
Yeah, more than that. Yeah,
it's at least 10.
And they're supposed to use ACB, the ARIA technology for them modeling everything. It's supposed to use that. But
analog circuit behavior, ACB.
So it's a standalone. It's a standalone sampler. Is what you're saying?
That's what it sounds like.
But Roland with the MV.
wait, hold on. So hold on, MSimp.
No, here's my thing, because you see the community is yo, the market is ready for a standalone. Akai needs to do one. You know, Roland needs to do one. But then they come out and put that price tag on it.
And then people back away.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
I've heard rumors about
we say we want one,
too, so
like cats won't invest in it, man. And,
well,
you know,
I agree. I think what it is, there's something to say like, I want this, I want that, I want that. I want these 10 things on this sampler. But then people don't put any thought into what it's going to take to make that happen. Exactly. If you were to think back, I don't know who was. You think back 10 years, 15 years. The more features you get, those things are already priced out. Like, we couldn't afford, like, a lot of things has changed in 10, 15 years. Yeah. Things are affordable, and then part of that is because the technology has advanced and the way these companies are designing things have changed totally. And so if we went back to a bunch of hardware stuff, one, we may sacrifice some level of integration, and we may sacrifice because of, fearing of pricing their products out of the market. We may sacrifice features that we've come to know and love, and so that's what's going to be tough about it. But I don't think it would. I can't imagine it would be standalone if they're using ACB. I think it would be some maybe hybrid like. And
that's what I'm saying. It's going to be along the lines of a machine. With the I like the capability of standalone, but the thing is, when you start talking about
hard drives,
I think here's what you'll hear. Well, I want to pull my plugins up, and I want to use these, Omnisphere instruments inside of the machine. You already get into a hybrid situation, and from a company standpoint, it just doesn't make sense to do a full-on standalone drum machine.
Well, hold on now.
Right, because from that standpoint, it becomes a step back to a degree.
In a sense, a year ago, I would have completely agreed. A year ago, I was fully on board with what you're saying, and to the point where I got into a heated argument with a promising young engineer who knows who, I'm sure he's watching and he knows exactly who I'm talking to. But here's what I'll say. The current technology that's out now and is coming out for embedded solutions for computers, the processing power has gone through the roof, and now it's possible for them to actually make pretty powerful computers in very affordable small boxes, right? And when I say small, I'm talking smaller than the palm of your hand small. At this point, with the trade show that Microsoft did, what was it, a year or two ago, and they had the MPC with the tablet on it. They had a touch tablet MPC standalone running the Renaissance software on. It was basically like a Surface that was embedded into a Renaissance. They were basically showing proof of concept at that point. So what I'll say is this. When I got my first MPC, which was around here somewhere, maybe it's not, maybe I packed it away. Anyway, those suckers were $2,000 and up.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is not. It is, and that was considered an affordable MPC at the time, because if you don't recall, the 3000 was a whole lot more than that. When the 2000 came out at about a $2,000 price tag, people were losing their minds because it was affordable. You know what I mean? So the market technically can be there, but it has to be done right. Now, the rumors that I've been hearing, and I've been hearing them from a lot of different people that I trust, I've been hearing rumors of a standalone unit that can function like a Renaissance can, which means being able to load plugins, and I've been hearing about an ungodly number of analog outputs on it. Now, that's where the money comes in. Because when you start adding those individual outputs and all those components, that's when you get into real money.
Let me jump in here real quick, because I got to say this, man. I started out on a hardware MPC, okay? I don't need a hardware MPC right now, personally. Like, I'm not looking for a hardware. I don't need to have a sampler that I can take somewhere. I'm wherever I'm at, my computer's there. Now, with that in mind, I want to ask Corry. I want to ask Corry because Corry just basically kind of shifted out of the hardware MPC world not too long ago. I mean, so what do you think, Corry?
Really? Well, I'll tell you why I made the shift. And it wasn't, honestly, I had the MPC Studio almost, the first year it came out, I had the MPC Studio, and I reviewed it, and I loved it, Obviously I pointed out the things that I didn't dig about the software, which the software has come pretty far. But as far as my hardware MPC, I mean, there's arguments that may say that I had the worst hardware MPC of all time, the MPC 5000. Right?
I don't know. I think the 500 takes the cake, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, the reason I had to eventually go back into a hybrid solution when I got the REN. Firstly, they brought the price down on the REN, $1,200 for the REN. I was not doing that. And secondly, I maxed out the capabilities of the hardware standalone MPC. It basically came down to my workflow is, and I was telling MSimp this one time. MSimp, when you were over here, I was telling you how I sample everything. Yeah, right? How I sample every single thing, like everything is vinyl. That's kind of my own little weird philosophy. Like if I got synth all over the place, I'm usually sequencing a line and with MIDI, and then so I'm running it. But then before I get to a point where I'm doing too much, I'll go ahead and I'll sample that line, the audio.
I do the same thing. That's exactly how I work on my MPC too.
Exactly. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I sequence everything, but then I sample the audio and resequence it back in there, whether it's just throw the loop, fly the loop in, or whether I chop it by 16 equal parts and tap it in time, right? Yeah. But what happens is you're killing your amount of memory, and then so I'll leave my MPC on for days. It might just be on. I'll wipe and walk back in the room, bang, 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 right? And then I'll go to work and I'll come back and it's still on. I'm like, oh, that was dope. Okay, then I'll start a new track. Then I'll mess around and sample some more stuff. I may sample a record, I'll sample a synth, and then I'm sampling on. And think about that. Over the course of 3 days, I may turn that joint on Friday, and it goes off on Tuesday, and I've murdered the memory.
See, I think that's what I'm saying. From a company standpoint, I think if we start to see the hardware standalone samplers, I think they come out in a limited edition format because I think when you look at it in a business standpoint, like who now wants to provide support for that type of stuff? You know what I mean?
Well,
that's a good point.
What if it's running the exact same software, but it's basically an embedded computer inside of it? Look, man, I just got this thing from Nose Machines. Hold on, let me show you this.
That's the
mad scientist over there.
What is that?
Right? And let me show you what this is. Right? So this is a guitar pedal, right? But here's the thing that's gonna blow your mind. This is a guitar pedal, and I hope you got me selected so that people can see this. This is a guitar pedal, right? With a big ass screen on it, a few foot switches, 2 dials on the side here, right? But then if you turn it on the side here, there's a full computer inside of this thing. Yeah. And I'm not talking about a weak computer. This thing's running at
that's like
it's like 1.5 gigahertz or something like that. Like this thing runs plugins. This thing will run machine.
That's dope.
Like this thing is a full-on Windows computer on it. You know what I mean?
So, but the thing is, the reason why you like the 3000s and you like the 60s is because of the circuitry. If you're gonna do all of that, get rid of the software. I just want the circuitry because, like what Corey is saying, I'm not like that's an antiquated workflow, sequencing and producing and building whole tracks inside of a box. Like I don't want to do that.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Tell him,
it's
man.
like 2016.
Hold on,
like,
you say that. But there's two sides to that coin that you're talking about right now. And let me just say this real quick. So we were at NAMM and we had a conversation with Akai to the face, right? And they were like, yeah, the Renaissance is the MPC 3000 converters. It's the MPC 3000 preamps. It's that circuitry in it, blah, blah, blah.
I remember that.
Find out
lies, right?
Lies. It was all lies. And that they were using a Crusher plug-in inside of it.
Man.
Woo. Let me just say this. Listen, everybody knows that I love my MPCs, right? And I've dibbled and dabbled in all kinds of stuff, but I'm an MPC head at the core of it, right? And most of us are, but I'm like, I really love MPCs. But that stuff, See, I don't dig when companies just point out, flat out lie. You have to realize that what you're dealing with when you're dealing with beat guys is really a bunch of text. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't pull that kind of wool over nobody's eyes. How long did you think? Because people will tear the thing down. I mean, let's be honest. I don't want to disconnect my MPC, but I'd show you. It's a customized RIN. I had to open it all up to change the pads. I had to put the wood sides and all that stuff. So what do you think I'm doing when I'm doing that? I'm looking through this thing. I'm opening it up. There's some dudes that know that circuitry so well, that know those chipsets so well, they can tell you, like, yo, this ain't the same thing. So why would you even consider telling a lie like that? It's a damn hidden plug-in.
So while I'll agree, because just like Corey, I'm a long-time MPC head. I came up, that's like, I cut my teeth on the MPC. I did mad beat battles with it. I actually was doing beat battles back when people actually battled as opposed to just playing a CD, you know, and dancing like a fool. You know what I mean? Like, we actually battled with our gear. You know what I mean? Like, we put up gear and said whoever wins this battle walks home with your gear. Like, that was real battling back then.
That feels druggy to me. It feels like I got a drug and a gambling problem if I'm doing that.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. So there's also a large part of us, like, we're older heads. Let's be real. Like, we're getting, you know, on, and we're not 17 anymore. You know what I mean? And the kids who are coming up 17 these days aren't growing up with the knowledge of, oh, well, Dilla did this, and A Tribe Called Quest, man, when they were working this, and that's how it sounded, and Pete Rock was on that SP 1200, and it sounded like this, and I gotta have that sound. Man, they're growing up on Ninth Wonder, who is dope, but let's be real, his early records, they were FL Studio. They don't have the same.
My man, Ninth Wonder was bringing a computer on stage with him.
Right.
They don't have the same lust for the same circuitry back then. Back when I was beat battling. The dude across from me was Sap, who's doing real well now. He did stuff with Mac Miller and all them, but he was using FL Studio. That was the end of an era for us. You know what I mean? So to sit here and say, well, the vintage circuits have this much power, that's only going to last for so long, because that affinity is going to start to die off as people get older.
But it's not necessarily the power necessarily as it so much as it is the sound. And I think that's why places like Akai did the plug-in situation, and places like Roland are doing the ACB, because, and even when I went to NAMM, I don't know if it was 2 years ago, I was at NAMM and I sat at Universal Audio's booth, and they had No ID there, and they asked him a similar question. They said, so No ID, do you still use, say, your MPC whatevers and your ASRs or whatever? He was like, nope. That time's back. but he made the point. He said the reason I don't is because I know how to make the stuff sound like that. You know what I mean? That's because I have the experience now to get to that.
He's a dope producer. He's a dope producer. And listen, there's a major difference between somebody who's just a really good producer, who's really good at making their sound and is comfortable with that, and somebody who moves forward. Jazzy Jeff, that's a dude who's constantly moving forward, right? He's a groundbreaker. But like, and there's nothing wrong with being comfortable with what you have and sticking with what you have. But you can look at cats. Look, man, like Public Enemy and you know, even Premier and them, like, a lot of those guys will use their old gear because they're comfortable with it and they don't want to learn anything else. Some of them might be legends and struggled learning just to get to the level to produce on an MPC 60 or whatever, and then didn't want to go past that because that was painstaking enough for them. Not everybody is a nerd like us. Not everybody gets it in that way. So some guys are classics and they stick to what they have, not because of the sound, but because they don't want to learn anything else.
Well, you know, let me jump in real quick.
I'll give you that.
Real quick, I just want to say something. Like, there's a whole beat scene right now that revolves around the SP404. So the SP404 is pretty cheap. You can get one for like $399.
And pretty limited.
Yeah, very limited. Yeah, very, very, very limited. But the sonic capabilities of that little machine is really off the chain. Yeah, it's crazy. You can do a whole lot with that thing. And I think, you know, Roland would be smart. I mean, if this machine that's coming out is what it is, according to the rumor, it has, you know, that ACB technology with the 404, with the 303, with the SP12, and all this sonic shaping capabilities of all these old samplers. I think if they do it at a good price, it could potentially be something that a lot of beat makers would really flock to if it's done right, you know.
But it's also got to be in the 404's footprint. Like I wouldn't support an MV8000, MV8800 size beat machine. Like not today.
Tough. It's tough because like even like I've got so right here I got the Machine Studio, and then somewhere over here I got the Push 2. And
somewhere over there.
The Push 2 is so both of those are big.
Plus is a hoarder, man.
You don't say a word. But
no, some of the gear.
I mean, to me, like maybe like the Tempest size, like just slightly larger than the Rhythm would be really nice. But for me, so all that ACB stuff sounds fantastic, and I'm all on board. But what I really want from a new sampler standalone machine is workflow. I want something that works in an interesting, different way from everything else. Like I like Machine because it does not work like an MPC. Like I'm a longtime MPC head, but when I learned Machine, this is back in like '09, back before it was actually good. You know, when I learned that thing, it got to be really fun because it was so much faster and you didn't have to hit stop, like, and you could just keep going. You know what I mean? So the Octatrack has been calling my name hard, but I don't like the Rhythm knob set. Like I don't like that. So like
you don't want the Octatrack.
That's my point. Is I don't want that user interface and that slow workflow, but I do want something that can chop up audio, time stretch automatically, that kind of thing, and do it in a fast way, in an interesting way. So if it has a new workflow that we haven't had before, give me that all day, free, please.
Sounds like you just want Machine with more features.
Let me just. No, what'd you say?
I said it sounds like he just wants Machine with more features. Personally, for me, like I have Push 2, I have Machine. I don't think there's a sampler software combination better than Machine right now. Personally,
Machine has a lot of holes in its workflow that it
but I'm speaking even with that
fixed, huh?
Even with that, even with this.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's why it's still #1 in my setup. I totally agree. But the other thing is that. I mean, and yeah, it's a little bit douchey this day and age, but I do like having to not turn on the computer. I do like being standalone sometimes. Yeah. And the only thing that prevents me from using my MPC as much as I used to is these things. I mean, when you start, you know, diving into your discs and it takes forever to load them up, and you know, it just gets really annoying and it's slow. But Machine is still my favorite, like by far. Like I just really love how fast it is and how intuitive it is, but it's still it lacks so much at the same time. It's the best, but it's like choosing a presidential candidate. You're selecting, you know, the least bad. You know what I mean?
So let me ask 1 second here. Let me ask let's start with MSimp, because we ain't got much longer. I want to know what you're expecting at NAMM, or what you would like to see at NAMM. Let's go.
Personally, a poly brute from Atari.
Oh, say that.
That right there is what I would, man. That's the one thing I would hope that NAMM 2016 would bring. Is a poly brute. Like I'm rocking with Korg. Like I like what they're doing. I'm rocking with a lot of the companies and like the direction that they're taking out, and I'm loving, like, you know, just the analog synth comeback. I don't think it ever really went anywhere. I just think there's a lot more awareness around it, especially in our community. But I think from Atari, if we could get a poly brute with the form factor or the size of, you know, what Korg is doing with that, was that 37 keys? So you got 37 key band? Yeah, something like that, man. Game over for me.
Yeah, like,
that's a good point. That's a good point. I think Bryce made a point too. We were talking the other day, and he said, "Wait, this is a 4-voice, truly analog synthesizer. for $4.99. So what's all this belly aching that all these companies are doing about making a polyphonic analog synthesizer? And so I think that was Korg threw the gauntlet down and basically did the Pelican. You know, I learned in management this term called Pelican management, and what it is you know, everybody's doing their thing, everybody's happy, everybody's doing whatever they're doing and working. Then the manager, the Pelican manager, comes in, swoops down and poops on everything, and swoops out, then everybody has a bad day. Korg is the Pelican right now.
Well, and I will say this, Corey. I think now that the market has seen that it can be done, and I guess, you know, I think I watched the Sweetwater demo on the Korg, like, it sounds really, really good, man. And obviously that's secondhand, but I'm a fan of, like, I have the micro brute, and like, but Tory has shown that you can make a great synth, be it it's mono right now, but you can make a great synth and still have a favorable price point. As much as I would love to rock with old Dave Smith and those guys, like, you know, some of the more expensive and more pricier Moogs, like, think about getting a true poly Moog, you know, with all the features and the things that we're used to nowadays and the things that you want. Think about what that will cost you.
Oh, it would cost. I think
you know what I mean?
You already know it would cost you. You got to get rid of your car, and you might have to move it to a smaller home.
and so I think that works in the favor of companies like Atari, man, because it's like they get it. Like, they're gonna be priced just right for the budget conscious producer, the budget conscious sound designer. You know what I mean?
So how about you, Bryce? What you looking forward to from NAMM?
Man, I'm gonna be in the modular area, just kind of seeing what's going on in there. Yeah, I want to see what those guys are coming up with. You know, all those rocket scientists over in that area. As far as just the larger companies, I do hope Roland does this new SP or MV, whatever it is. I'm excited to see that. Like Mike said, I think Arturia just might be bringing something like that to NAMM. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, man. It really wouldn't. So other than that, yeah, just checking out the cats in the modular area, seeing where that's going, because that is at an all-time high, man, and it's still growing. So I'm real interested in that space. So
and let me also add to that, Bryce, that Bryce will be there representing obviously himself, but he'll be there representing BBoyTech Report. So he'll be bringing that modular space to people that are looking forward to that stuff, to the BBoyTech Report. So stay tuned for that. Bryce is going to be down there lurking with all the modular cats. And flipping over to, lurking. Flipping over to Flux, what you looking forward to, man, at NAMM?
So let me just say that Bryce, well, first thing that I'm looking forward to at NAMM, to be perfectly honest with you, is seeing all my friends. This is like the one time a year where I get to see like all my homies from all over the world, and we get to all come together. So I'll be there. Simp, you gonna be there?
Man, we will not be there. We have some stuff come up.
Man. I was hoping you'd be there. So listen,
I kind of had a feeling he knew we weren't going to be there and just put me out there like that.
Let me just say this. I'm going to make it very clear for everybody. I'm taking his drinks and I'm taking his Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Man, Mike, can we get
who's paying for doubles?
I'll eat two.
Mike, maybe. Mike, maybe you can come hang out with us at Roscoe's one night, or you gonna yeah, maybe you could do that.
We'll have to figure something out, man. We have I'm working on a project right now that's conflicting. So.
Oh, I hear you.
So that's the first thing, because I know like St. Joe of SoundsandGear.com is going to be with us. You know, my partner over at SonicExpansion.com, Willie McKnight's going to be there. You know, I'm going to be there with Bryce. I'm going to be there with Corey. Like, we're all going to be there and having a good time. All my modular buddies are going to be there. So that's like the first and foremost thing for me. Like, all the meetings and everything, that's always fun. But I would say I'm really interested. I'm skeptical and scared, but I'm interested and optimistic about Akai bringing back the AX synthesizer line. Large format, full keybed, big poly synth. So I'm interested to see that come back. Polybrute.
I think a lot of people slept on those too, man.
Arturi has been
Yeah,
quiet since the BeatStep Pro, so and since them updating their software stuff, but for NKS format. But what I want to see is like a Polybrute, something like that. I'd like to see it possibly like at a slightly higher price point, as far as like making sure that the build quality is nice.
Wait, you want to see a higher price point, or you?
Well, when I say that, like along with that come the modulation routings, and when I say that, like I mean a fully featured polyphonic synthesizer, full keybed. I'm talking like full feature level. You know what I mean? And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that these companies can do it, and do it far less expensive than something like a Prophet 6 or something like that. I think that you could see for $1,400 see something that could easily compete with a Prophet 6.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't see that as impossible. And listen, I'm not poo-pooing Smith in them. Because they're a very small company doing very boutique things. I'm talking about larger companies doing similar products at a lower price point, is basically what I'm saying.
Right. Gotcha.
So I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to samplers. I'd like to see this Akai thing, but I'm not really anxious to get back to the MPC workflow because I feel like it's too slow. But,
well, when you say you want to see this Akai thing, I mean, if I had to guess, I would think that proof of concept that you were talking about earlier is probably going to be announced when we get there, because I don't think the MPC Touch is all that there is.
Oh, definitely not.
It can't be.
Totally agree. And the other thing that I'm really looking forward to is I don't think that the Minilogue is all that Korg has. I have a strong feeling that there's more to it than just that. I feel like they released it early for a reason, to get people to run to that booth, and that they might have something more and larger to announce. And this is just optimistic thinking.
You got a good point there. Now, I don't know if it's optimistic.
2600?
Because I think there's a couple of companies that did that. I think Roland did that with these guys, right? Roland did that. These are early. This shouldn't be there.
That's true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
They don't just let all the cats out the bag, and I'll be disappointed if that is all it's it. Although I do dig these, but you got that. You got Korg, right? So Korg probably is going to do something, and there's a couple companies that probably have some things up their sleeve, like Akai with the AX. And I'll tell you, I want to talk about the AX for a second. Like, for instance, I had some opportunity to get an AX73 for like $300 or $275. I can't remember what it was. But I didn't deal with that. I didn't bother with that. Although an AX60 or AX80 has always been on my list of synths that I want to get.
Yeah.
Right, because it got all the knobs. Right. It has the sliders interface where you can do this. So for those who don't know, the AX is Akai's. The AX line of synths is Akai's analog polysynth line from what was it?
They
The
were
late
Curtis chip filters. So going back to that whole Dave Smith thing. Like they were like, that's the thing, is like the early, like a lot of that stuff, I mean, it was going through Curtis chip filters, like they all were. So it's not like it was all so amazingly boutique. I mean, let's be real, they were filters on a chip. You know what I mean? So it's, to me, and that's, let me just say one last thing would be Behringer had hinted a year ago that they were
about
and not just an ARP. But they had said that they were working on polysynths and all kinds of different stuff with their Midas team out in the UK.
Nice.
So
you got a good point. And then one of the things that they were going to do, is that they were not only going to give us that kind of level of sense, but they were also focusing on having preset memory, which obviously is a big thing when you start talking about these older synths or analog synths. That's the other thing that can boost up the price point is the patch memory. And that's when you're saying I got a vintage synth sort of thing, but with this new technology, and the most typical things would be presets and USB, right?
The other thing that you need to pay attention to is that Behringer recently acquired the chip manufacturing companies out there, I think it's, what is it? It's either Cool Audio or That Audio, whatever it's called. But anyway, they acquired the chip company that would be manufacturing analog chipsets. So the reason back in the day they were able to do like the Akais and the sequential circuits and stuff was because they had these Curtis chips and it was easy to get them and they could make these synths. Well, there hasn't been that manufacturing in a while. That's why Dave Smith has had like a real lock on that market. Well, Behringer is now remanufacturing their own synth chip stuff, so they could come in at a much lower price point than anybody else.
That's the key. That's the key. You can manufacture your own stuff and you're not buying it.
Polysynth with deep modulation, cool filters, all that for way less than people were expecting.
See, if they were smart, they drop a whole line. Just kind of meet you at every level. You know what I mean? And just take the whole industry by storm that way.
Yep.
And they could do it. They have the size of manufacturing and ownership to do it.
That's interesting.
Well, I can say this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just actually going to ping it over to you. The question that I have for you is, and make sure you remember your point, but the question I have for you is, we're talking about, samplers and synthesizers and basically samplers and synthesizers, right? But what do you expect on the modular front like that? Like, what are those anticipated things on the modular front?
Well, I know Make Noise has some new stuff. Make Noise. I'm interested to see what Qubit does because they tend to approach modular from a kind of hip-hop angle, if you ask me. So I'm real curious to see what he does. And then 4MS, they were the big show stealers last year with their filter, with their spectral filter.
Spectral multiband resonant filter.
Exactly. Yeah. So they stole the show last year. So I think, and they also they got the Best Module of the Year award from Electronic Music. So they're going into this thing with a kind of with a big prestige kind of. So they need to uphold their tradition and bring something pretty hot this year. So I'm curious to see what they do. And Make Noise always has some good stuff. So it's going to be real interesting over in there. And then my point to the man, I lost my point. I totally forgot it.
Well, you were talking with NAMM, it was a synth. Okay, I'll say things. Synths, Akai, Korg. No, don't do it for you. Okay, no, all right. Yeah. Okay, so look, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to be able to do one thing before we get out of here. I want to say, I want to jump to each one of you guys. Pardon me. I want to jump to each one of you guys, but I also want to kind of close out on, there's products. There's a lot of products on this call right here, and there's a lot of good products. So I want to just jump to everybody who has products and have you say what your latest products are and where they can find your stuff. And before we do that, though, I want to say make sure you guys subscribe to BBoyTech Reports YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter. Like me on Facebook, and do the same for my people here because they all have their own respective channels and places where you can find them. This is a talented group of beat makers, and I respectfully call my friends my beat people and all my people that kind of live this lifestyle where our passions are being lived out through some form of beat making. So this is the movement right here, beat people, and there's millions of us out there. So feel free to support all of us, and we'll support you as we do. And just so you know, the website beatpeople.com, I got 2 new products. Actually, it's a few new products, but 2 that are going to be dropping next week. One is inebriated breaks, because it's a kind of drunken sort of breaks sort of thing, and that's volume 1. There's going to be 4 volumes of that, I think it's going to be, at least that I know of right now. Then there's Analog Boom Bap, which my man Bryce did the demo for, and it came out pretty dope. So that's an analog boom bap sort of drum kit that I made with analog drum sounds, some layering of vinyl drum sounds, and then ran it to tape or dropped it to the MPC 60 to give it that old flavor sound. So Hopefully y'all enjoy that. That'll be dropping on Monday. You can pre-order it now, get 15% off. But on Monday it'll be live, and then you should see that popping up in various places too. Stay
Corey,
tuned.
You should post the website right now. Show it on your screen real quick.
Okay, word. Hold on. So while I grab the website, MSimp, why don't you tell them where they can find you and your latest products?
MSXaudio.com. I mean, we kind of dabble into everything: drums, breaks, samples, construction kits, vinyl, as you can see on the wall here. So we try to get into a lot of different things that inspire us as producers, and just keep those back out to the community so that hopefully they can be inspired.
That vinyl piece looks real dope, by the way. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I saw Joe did a thing over at soundsandgear.com on it, and I had been thinking of doing something like that for a while, and I'm glad to see somebody did it, because I just think it's a good idea, man.
Appreciate it. Hit me up. I'll send you one, man. Hit me up.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, by the way, just to talk about that vinyl piece, it's dope, and I feel privileged. I'll say this because I'm just gonna gloat for a minute, because I actually got mine delivered to the studio. I got it delivered. MSimp lives in Texas, and he flew on a plane to get to LA, and we ate sandwiches, and then we went to my lab, and he handed over the vinyl, and I put it right about here on the turntable, and I was supposed to be listening to it, but I couldn't help but to be sampling at the same time. MSimp knows.
Yeah, we had a good time, man. We had a real good time.
No doubt. So let me before we jump to you, Flux, let me just share this screen right quick and show this.
So hold on. And why don't you tell them what the name of that is one more time? That's what, Stems 3?
The vinyl.
Yeah.
The vinyl. Yeah. So that's from the Opal Stems, which is a construction series that includes drums, breaks. Fender Rhodes, tape, everything. And it's just mashed up into almost like an instrumental format, so that you can get in there and chop. And then what we did on the vinyl was actually sectioned off the break part of the record, sectioned off the organs or the bass, and had certain elements played individually and solo, so that you can get in there and just chop really, really quickly.
Yep.
Word.
It's almost like going to a bunch of records and getting the best songs off of all those records, and then having them on one record for you. So
that's kind of the way I saw it. When I was listening to it, I was like, this is like having a crate of records on one record.
Right. All the dope ones, all the dope tracks, though.
Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I love it. Love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, Flux, I'll get one out there to you, man. No problem.
Oh, cool.
So can you all see this? Let's see.
What do you got?
There.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, so this is the Analog Boom Bap Volume 1. It's beatpeople.com, BEATPPL.com. We don't beat people, we are beat people is the slogan. So
Depends on how much bourbon I get.
Oh yeah, Flux might beat some people and machines at the same time, but not me. I'm trying to be non-violent and just beat machines. But the Analog Boom Bap piece
depends on what Roland does at NAMM, right?
That's right. That's right.
If I get there and there's just organs, yeah, I'm beating I'm flying all the way across the country. They better have something more than just organs.
That's right. That's right. So everybody go out there and check out this Analog Boom Bap Volume 1. It'll be out on Monday, but until then you can pre-order and get 15% discount if you enter the code BEATPPL15. All right, so that's that, and I'm going to bounce over to Flux right now.
So I've been working on a lot of different things lately. I've been working on some tutorial courses for modular stuff, and I've been working on some sound design things. So sonicexpansion.com, that's sonicxpansion.com, just opened up. And what's really cool about this site is for a while we've been doing just machine and then a little bit of contact stuff, and we released a VST as well. But This year we wanted to focus on all formats. We really wanted to get it out there to everybody. So we brought on board a group by the name of Vibe, who previously they did a lot of work with Big Fish Audio under the name of Funk Soul. So if you remember, like Funk Soul horns and vibes and ambient black and those products, that's those guys. So they've got 2 new products, Funk Force 5 and XXL hip hop horns. And which, let me tell you about hip hop horns right now. This thing is crazy because it's, they recorded all live horns. They got swing and vibe on all the recordings. Everything it's a contact instrument, so everything automatically time stretches, but it keeps that swing and feel so that when you use it, it feels like samples, but it's all royalty free and you can do what you want with it. So definitely check that out. I'm working on a 3-pack right now of new sounds. A good bit different from the analog boom bap that Corey's working on. So mine is basically functioning around modular drums and boom bap in a way, because I'm kind of a boom bap producer, but it's a little bit weird stuff. Like I'm taking it a little bit more further out there. So there's going to be some glitches and some oddball loops and weirder sounds. That kind of stuff is going to be inside of there, and that should be out within the next month, just after NAMM. And yeah, just keep an eye out on fluxwithit.com and youtube.com/flux302, and you'll be able to find me acting a fool pretty much everywhere.
You're a wild boy, man. Hey, okay, we're gonna bounce over to Bryce. Now, I'm gonna preface this with I don't know what Bryce wants to let out of the bag, but Bryce got some things that he's been working on, and I can't wait to see them come together. But one of the things that he and I have been talking about kind of on a side note is developing a Bryce brand of sound pack, because we could collaborate on something like that. So we're going to do something like that. And because if I don't know, people you out there, if you know Upright's style of beat, it's a real, me and Joe from Sounds and Gear calls it drunk bap. You know what I'm saying? Because it's got a real, like, how does Joe say it? It's like a boom bap that's got like a kickstand leg type of deal. Kind of jumps out.
He's always got that. He's got that heavy West Coast swing.
Man. So Bryce, why don't you tell us, if you can, about what you're working on?
Well, yeah, definitely looking forward to doing that what we talked about. But right now, I'm really trying to finish up an album for Cold Busted Records. That's my main focus. I'm putting all I can into it, just trying to make it as a good representation of what I do. So. Other than that, just really hanging out on Instagram, man. Just just
hanging out on Instagram.
Yeah, man. Just kind of, relieving the daily stress of the work life, man. But
that's what's up.
Yeah.
And then let me also add too, Bryce and Flux are bad influences, just point blank. On the real, I don't like these guys. So the thing is, so I'm into my synths and all that stuff, and I've been toying with the idea for a long time now of going modular. I had the Pittsburgh modular for a good while, and I reviewed that. But since then, I've been trying to find my way back to modular, and I'm planning to do that. But these guys know how to put the pressure on. So sometimes I'm just looking at my phone as we text, and I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? Here they go, and they're just gonna keep showing the thing like that. So I will get into the modular thing at some point. But what I don't want to lose, there's one thing I don't think we mentioned before we get out of here. This could go on for a million years, but just one thing. So there's the P6 that I got sitting over here, right? The Prophet 6. What kind of things do you all think is coming for NAMM from Dave Smith and his sequential brand? I'll start with
OBX.
The what?
Listen, I'm predicting it. I just want to say it. Dave Smith OBX. And it doesn't make sense because I know that's Oberheim, but listen, they're friends. Oberheim's already stated that his company is basically staying small. Everybody wants the poly Oberheims. Dave Smith has the company that could do it, a knobby version of the OBX.
Oh, wow.
Could happen.
With knob per function OBX. That's it.
That's dope.
But I'm like,
will be expensive.
Man, that's what I was just about to say. I'm with Michael on this, man. I'm tired of these expensive synthesizers, man. Corey went out and spent almost $3,000. Well, you didn't spend $3,000, but man.
No, I did not spend $3,000. I got the Black Friday deal.
We have wives.
Yeah. You got the Black Friday deal. Yes, you did. You got the Black Friday.
But to be fair,
off of it.
But to be fair, I got the Black Friday deal, but this was still more expensive than the average synth, even with like a third off. So you're right, and that's the truth. That's what keeps happening. These companies are putting out really expensive stuff.
But listen,
and so either you can't afford it, or you got to do like me and sell off half of the studio so you can make sure that you can deal with that one piece.
And don't get me wrong. Their stuff is dope, man. It's fire. You know, I'm expecting Moog. Honestly, I'm kind of feeling like Moog is going to try to jump in there this year with a polysynth, but I feel like all these dudes are going to be caught with their pants down because Korg just did this $500 synth analog. Next year, I wouldn't be surprised. If they don't have it this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they come with an 8-voice in the same vein for $1,000 or $1,200 and just.
I totally agree.
Just blow up everything. So these guys,
Korg.
Korg.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys, Moog and DSI, and they have dope synths, and Modal, but their stuff's expensive. So the mass market is going to go where they can get the same functionality and good quality. It's not shabby. It's good stuff. Arturia, Korg, and these different companies for the better price point, like Michael was saying. So.
Word. I think that's a real good point because there's a lot of desirable synths out there, and DSI, Dave Smith specifically has some great synths. But when I saw the P12, I was just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? If I could have one, but I don't know. And then okay, how about Modal, right? That's another one that's gonna be dropping.
Man.
Would be obviously at NAMM. I don't know if they're dropping anything, but one of the things that they have that I really lust for, but I ain't planning on getting rid of my car for no synth anytime soon, is that 008. Right. Ken is holding up something over there. What you got over there? Right, the P12. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing right there. The module of it was a dope idea, but still, that's pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's it's up there. But here's what I'll say is, if they did an OBX, right? Because him and Tom are good friends, and they supposedly have breakfast all the time and this and that. They talk about it in multiple videos. They've talked about that relationship. And if you look at the Pro 2 and the Prophet 6, there's SEM filters, which are Oberheim style, filters patterned off of that idea. From what I understand, at least, I could be wrong, but that's what my understanding of it. So if that's the case, if they're collaborating on that and they're okay with that, well then what would stop him from doing an OBX and doing it knob per function or very similar to something like a Prophet 08, but with an OBX underneath of it, and they could do it for they could make it profitable at $3,000, $3,500, something like that. I could see that happening, but leaving the actual Oberheim brand as the boutique brand that it is, because if Oberheim's already shown its Eurorack, some of the Eurorack modules that they're going to be showing at NAMM. They just released some pictures today, actually. So it's not it's not out of the realm of possibility that this could happen. I've also heard some speculation and rumors that Tempest 2 is in the works, which, if you remember, there were supposed to be 2 of them. There was supposed to be a sampler, and then there was supposed to be the analog, and the sampler never ended up happening, and then the analog one had samples in it, but they didn't put enough power in it to
But here's the thing, though. Is that the case? Was it supposed to be 2 Tempest, like,
it was supposed to be
there was supposed to be it was supposed to be the Tempest, that's the analog joint, and then it was supposed to be
it was supposed to be 2 separate units.
It was supposed to be the Lindrum 2 that they collect, right?
But both of them were supposed to be collaborative. So there was supposed to be a Roger Lynn one that was more heavy on the sampler side, but it had analog synthesis in it. And then there was supposed to be the Dave Smith side that was lighter on the sampling side, but heavier on the analog side. You see what I mean?
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to have a problem with a Lindrum 2. The problem I will have is that I won't be able to contain myself, because I would have to need.
The problem you have is you won't be able to make your mortgage.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be. I'll be swiggling around this chair like, okay, I can sell them 3 records. I can sell that. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out.
I can't sell my records, man. Like I pulled a bunch of my vinyl collection, and I was looking at it because I got some really nice collector's item records, and like I looked at them, and I looked at Discogs, and they were like $250, $300 a record, and I was like, but the problem was that I played the record when I was doing this, and then once you play the record,
yeah, you don't want to get rid of it at that point. Like, no, I got to keep this. Okay, so look, it's been about an hour and a half, and I know we could do this all day, but we're gonna have to bring it to a close. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I really appreciate you guys, and 2016 is a new year. There's power in numbers, and we're gonna rock a lot of different situations here. You guys are always welcome to stop by the Beat People show, and I'm gonna work on making sure that I can do this on the first Saturday of every month for those that might be seeing this. There'll be some combination of maybe the fellas that you see here, some special guests, and various different things we'll talk about. Production techniques, because I've gotten emails about arrangements and stuff like that. So we'll talk about production techniques and all kinds of various topics that may be under that. We'll always be talking about the sample packs and different stuff that we may have coming, and not only ours, but the things that are out there that we have our eyes on, like my man Sample Pack, Sound Junkie with the Ratchet Gods. That's a dope sample pack. So we'll be talking about all kinds of different things. So y'all stop by, and we may even get into holding up. Excuse me, I just dropped my mic. But we may get into different vinyl and different things.
Some Wendy Carlos. Wendy Carlos, man.
Right. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and this has been the Beat People show. Make sure to stop by BBoyTech Report. There's a lot of reviews coming up. Make sure to support my guys that are on here, and make sure to go out and support beatpeople.com. Remember, we don't beat people. We are beat people. All right? Signing off.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Peace.
Man.